Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you guys with the most up-to-date political, economic and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in.
Okay, happy Thursday everybody. First up, let's move through several salient developments related to the Chinese economy. On Tuesday, we discussed Monday evening's statement on the Politburo meeting on the economy. Since then, US outlet Bloomberg has taken a survey of 73 economists, the results being published today. According to the survey, China's economic outlook is deteriorating into next year, with no clear consensus from analysts that the business environment will improve. The survey of economists downgraded their growth projections for 2023 to 5.2% from an earlier median estimate of 5.5%. Gross domestic product is seen expanding 4.8% in 2024, down from 4.9%. The outlet explains that the dominant view in the survey is that China's economic recovery has lost steam, with GDP growing more slowly than expected last quarter and other data flashing warning signs on everything from consumption and trade to the worsening property market slump. Quote, "I don't expect stimulus to be of the size that could substantially accelerate China's growth. I see risks to be biased to the downside. This is the new normal we should get used to." End quote. Next up, according to official local numbers published yesterday, more than half of China's provinces and provincial-level municipalities reported slower economic growth in the first half than the national economy's 5.5% expansion. Quote, "largely reflecting the ongoing slump in the real estate industry and slack global demand for manufactured goods." End quote, in the words of Chinese financial media outlet Caixin. This also reflects the growing regional disparity in economic growth and dynamism across the country. For example, southeast China's Jiangxi province, traditionally quite poor, saw expansion of just 2.4% off a low base. 10 localities bet the national economy, led by Shanghai with growth of 9.7%. Though, as the megacity was in lockdown this time last year, this is also off a low base. Quote, "The drag of the real estate is significantly higher in some provinces. In the first half of 2023, Guangxi's real estate development investment fell 43.4% year-on-year. Property development investment in Tianjin fell 46.7%. Chongqing's real estate development investment fell 21%. End quote. Next up, on Tuesday of this week, state-backed think tank, the National Institute for Finance and Development, published a new report on China's household debt. The report found that the household leverage ratio stood at 63.5% as at the end of June this year, the second straight quarterly increase and the highest level in available data going back to the end of 1992. We note that this is all based on official data. The report explains that, quote, "growth in China's household debt as a percentage of nominal GDP was almost flat in the second quarter, as plunging property sales curbed demand for mortgages, even as consumer and individual business loans jumped." End quote. Though mortgages were down, as at the end of June, outstanding consumer loans rose 11.1% year-on-year and individual business loans surged 19.5%. In Q2, spending was cut back and savings increased, quote, "as concerns for future income growth mounted," end quote, with outstanding household savings up 10% to 133.1 trillion yuan, $19 trillion in the first half of 2023. The authors of the report warn that while this is useful at, quote, "repairing households' broken balance sheets in the short term, this will further depress the economic outlook and housing prices will eventually cause more damage to their balance sheets." End quote. To avoid a balance sheet recession, the report argues, quote, "policymakers should step up efforts to expand the balance sheets of all sectors in the real economy, especially by speeding up government borrowing via bond issuance. Interest rates should also be cut substantially to reduce the interest burden on the huge stock of debt in the economy." End quote. The country's official overall leverage ratio rose for the sixth straight quarter to a new record high of 283.9% as at the end of June, driven primarily by increases in government debt. Next up, Russia, China. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed today's episode of China Update, don't forget to hit that like button. And as I've said before, the best way to help this channel grow is to share this episode with people who you think would enjoy this sort of content or get value from following the Chinese economy. This is the best way to help the channel get new viewers and grow. And for anyone who wants to go the extra mile and help keep this channel financially sustainable, Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description below. Thank you so much, everybody, for the ongoing support. US-based media outlet Politico reports this week that Chinese sales to Russia of dual-use items like bulletproof vests and helmets have surged in recent months, perhaps putting more pressure on Beijing's public claim, especially in the eyes of the Europeans, that it is a neutral party in the conflict. According to customs records obtained by Politico, Russian buyers have declared orders for hundreds of thousands of bulletproof vests and helmets made by Shanghai H-Win, W-I-N. The outlet writes, quote, "Evidence of this kind shows that China is pushing right up to a red line in delivering enough non-lethal but militarily useful equipment to Russia to have a material impact on President Vladimir Putin's 11-month-old war on Ukraine," end quote. And the Europeans have taken notice. At the Aspen Security Forum last week, Emmanuel Bon, French President Macron's top diplomatic advisor, said that PRC firms were sending dual-use items to Russia. Asked by the moderator if there was evidence of this, Bon replied, quote, "Yes, there are indications that they are doing this, and we would prefer them not to do this," end quote. Adding, quote, "As far as we know, they are not delivering massively military capabilities to Russia, but we need that to be no delivery," end quote. Meanwhile, Sino-Russian military cooperation continues to tighten. According to Chinese state-run Global Times, after the conclusion of recent joint drills in the Sea of Japan, now further joint naval and air patrols in the Pacific Ocean are being undertaken, with the outlet writing, quote, "The fleet of around 10 vessels and 30 aircraft demonstrated capabilities in safeguarding peace and stability in the region amid a deterioration in the global security situation," end quote. And finally for today, China Media Project, a research outlet specializing in the study of the Chinese media landscape based in the United States and Taipei, recently published an article titled "Jewish Conspiracy Theories Find an Audience in China," which argues, quote, "Anti-Jewish content and conspiracies take up significant real estate among the top results on Chinese media platforms, including Douyin, WeChat and Bilibili. Though borrowed from the West, they have taken on a localized identity," end quote. The piece explores the curious growth in recent years of anti-Semitism in China, a country which, while certainly has a legacy of ethnic chauvinism generally, doesn't really have a sizable anti-Semitic tradition specifically. Full disclosure, I am not Jewish myself. I'm a New Zealander of Anglo-Celtic descent. We end today's video by examining some excerpts from the piece, which we are now quoting from the authors directly. Over 100,000 people have now read the post. At the time of writing, the Fugu Plan post is featured in the top search result for the word Jew on Douyin, ByteDance's Chinese equivalent to TikTok. The video is the first in a 3-part series about the historical mistakes of the Jews. In less than 8 minutes, the video's narrator blames the Holocaust on Jewish greed, accuses Jews of starting China's century of humiliation by financing the Opium Wars, and describes their cunning Fugu, F-U-G-U, plan with the Japanese. Other videos about the Fugu plan have received as many as 200,000 likes and 30,000 shares. A distinct brand of localized anti-Semitic conspiracies is thriving on Chinese social media platforms. A quick search for Jews on WeChat, Douyin, Bilibili, Weibo, or Zhihu reveals that negative anti-Jewish content and conspiracies take up significant real estate among the top results. Anti-Semitism is not just a social media phenomenon either. Despite Beijing's tight control of the information space, it can also be found among leading academics, party-state journalists, and military strategists. None of this is to say that anti-Semitism is widespread in China. However, it does beg the question of how a country with a negligible Jewish population and even smaller indigenous Jewish community could form such strong opinions about people they have never met. Chinese anti-Semitism should first be viewed as one manifestation of a broader problem of racist nationalism in Chinese discourse. Earlier this month, many observers were shocked and appalled to see how China's top diplomat, Wang Yi, hinted at an East Asian race-based bonhomie against sharp-nosed and yellow-haired Europeans and Americans, advocating for an East Asian alliance that can eliminate external interference and achieve sustainable development. From Sun Yat-sen to Wang Yi, racialized discourse has been an element of Chinese nationalism since the late Qing dynasty. By classifying Jews as innately external and homogeneous group, the PRC's founding fathers were able to see a reflection of their nation's own fate. Following decades of humiliation at the hands of foreign powers, it was natural to believe that if the Chinese could be as wealthy as the Jewish Shylock, China would be the most powerful country on the planet, or that in order to create the Chinese new man, one must examine how to avoid being like the subservient, weak Jew. Here ends the direct quote. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much everybody for watching. Have a wonderful Thursday, and I will see you all tomorrow.